God, don't be that very shabby. You won't always be a wooden boy.
We didn't plan on leashing you until the regular season was over.
Yeah.
Give it a little
we're about
bit.
there.
We're pretty damn close.
We're about there.
We don't have much longer before the beast has been released.
Mrs. Terwilliger. Red rum.
But if I could hold it right here for myself, it equalizes with you from that distance.
Well,
I don't know how it happens.
Let's stick with that then, because apparently I'm loud. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm loud.
Stop.
Okay?
Stop playing victim here. What the hell is this?
I'm just living my life, man.
This.
I'm not yelling. I'm just talking.
Yeah,
all right?
Yeah. He's a chicken now.
Wise guy, huh?
Mm-hmm. Another day on the podcast.
Another day. Welcome.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Podcast episode 12.
12.
With Mustache Medford and Killer K-Dog K-Coy.
How did we get to 12?
3 months.
3 months? We've been doing this shit for 3 months now?
One a week, 3 months. Hey, we made it. Woo!
Looks like we made it.
I bet YouTube's gonna flag us for that. That sounded pretty good. I bet you they're gonna be like, "Who is that? Who they got on the podcast?
What is going on?
You can't use that song.
In that pond.
Who is in that pond?
Yeah, I don't know. We might have to drag a net through that thing and see what we find.
We'll come up with more jokes.
That's where we found all this shit.
Yeah, I mean. You know, it's shaping up pretty good. They can still see the map a little bit, so that's nice.
Yeah, it is good, huh?
We'll find something. I have that Chargers flag. Maybe we bring that in.
I think that'd be good. You know, it's kind of funny you said that. I was thinking we needed something for each of our teams.
We need pizzazz.
We're
missing pizzazz. Damn it. There seems to be no sign of intelligent life around here.
Nowhere to be found.
My gosh. How's everyone doing? Welcome.
Yes.
We are back for another episode of the Koi Pound.
Thank you for being with us,
yes.
as always.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
You probably should start with a public service announcement.
Yeah, sure.
So there was a conspiracy, a thought that the Koi Pond podcast was causing businesses to go out and to close. Colin, is this true?
No, this is actually not true and is false information.
I
guess we did. We need to point out we did report it was dead.
Yeah,
initially.
We did. Yeah,
false information. It's alive,
and it actually was closed.
It
briefly.
was for a little bit.
Yes,
they were under new management and they were sorting shit out, I guess.
So our beloved local restaurant, the Treasure Island.
Yes, the gem of Dayton, Ohio.
The gem of the Gem City, I agree, is open again and bustling, I would say. Wasn't it today?
Looks like a 1920s flapper out there.
Oh,
it's quite bussin'.
Whisking in the wind, for sure.
I don't know why I said bustin'. That was such a good bit until I ruined it. But yes, Treasure Island is alive and well. It was actually probably the most packed we've seen it.
I don't think I've seen it like that busy since like the mid-90s, actually.
To be completely honest, I don't think I've ever seen it that full. And it could be that it just opened like a week ago, maybe.
Yeah.
But it was doing well.
The menu was back to normal to some extent.
For the most part. It seemed normal. They might have added some stuff. It seemed a little bigger. But
they had gotten rid of their vegetable soup, which was one of my all-time favorites.
Yes, that's right. And
it was back.
So,
and it tasted like it never went away.
And, you know, I was kind of worried most of their Patreons would have died. But they're there. They remembered still being there. So I'm really happy.
Somehow
we haven't lost our only good lunch spot yet. Yeah. Thankfully.
So we had a wonderful time there, and it was great to see it back. A delightful time. And so anyway, the rumors and all that are not true.
Yes, we assumed we killed it with the podcast. We did not.
We did not.
Put it on the record.
Yes, and if you get a chance to go there, definitely check it out. If you've been there before, go back.
Great lunch spot.
Never been there. Great lunch spot, as Colin said, and you got to try it out.
I completely agree. And you have something
That was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that.
That's right.
I lost my train of thought halfway through that sentence. The train is going away in my head. Oh, congrats to UD. They won on Tuesday. Yep. When this comes out, it's Thursday. But
what is their record now?
That is
like
excellent.
17-2 or something.
I know they're ranked and they're doing well.
I think they only have 2 losses.
Might be. So is this the year that COVID comes back?
Oh Lordy!
Does the March?
Don't tease them again. and by the way, who was speaking of COVID UD times? Mm-hmm. Who was the player that was kind of the main dude?
Obi Toppin?
Yep, Obi. And did you know he plays for the Pacers now?
Yes, he does, because he got traded from the Knicks.
That's correct.
I think.
Yep.
Which I think he's been doing well.
He's been doing very well. A lot of course, University of Dayton fans are also following the Pacers now, since they are very close nearby. Mm-hmm. And now that Obi's that close nearby, I've heard of a lot of people looking at going to Pacers games now.
Hell yeah. That's awesome to hear. I think
kind of a cool little nugget
there. Drug, if I remember right, they were one of the worst teams in the NBA a couple years ago or last year. So
I think so. Doing better, I believe?
I believe they're doing a lot better. We're not a basketball podcast, but we like to sprinkle in some information when needed.
Yes. All kinds of sports.
We're trying to cover as much as we can.
That's right.
And I believe Miami beat Kent State yesterday as well.
Did
which
they really?
Is beautiful, because Miami basketball is nothing to cry about.
They're pretty good.
They're not bad. I don't think Kent State's amazing, but they came to Oxford, Ohio, and they lost. Fuck you, Kent State.
Holy moly.
Had a zing one in there.
Great balls of fire.
Yes. We're getting to the offseason. You guys are about to start seeing our true personalities when we don't have teams to cry about. Yes. Everything's getting goofier, sillier, and much more dumb.
By the day. Welcome.
We're your 2 new hosts. The Goofy Koi Fish.
That's right.
We'll be taking you for a train ride this summer until we have... Well, no, we have draft. Probably post-draft.
Yeah.
Post-draft. We'll have the draft to talk about. After that's when it's really going to kick in.
Yes, but the clown koi fish will be making their way through here. It's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid clown koi fish, and damn it, is it stupid.
So welcome to the ride.
Yes, we're not there yet, though. We still have 2 games to talk about, plus the last one. A bunch of coaching changes. Some free agency, maybe.
100.
That's about it.
And we have some exciting news just today, hot off the press.
Oh, please enlighten us.
We have the Seattle Seahawks making a move.
Oh, yes.
To hire Mike McDonald, not to be confused with the singer Michael McDonald.
Or Ronald McDonald.
Neither one of those was hired today by the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, he still might be a clown. We'll have to find out.
However, after that Ravens game, which we'll get to in a minute.
Clown!
I think we can make some assumptions. He's taking Lamar Jackson. No, never mind. So, Dan Quinn will not be leaving the Cowboys, at least for the Seahawks.
For right now, Dan Quinn is with the boys.
And that is, I think, a good move for the Seahawks.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's defensive coordinator of one of the top defenses this season. So,
and it also makes him the youngest head coach, I believe, active and in NFL history.
Wow. Well, did you have an age?
I believe it's 36.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Brandon Staley was younger.
I think active, maybe.
Oh,
so maybe that's it. Maybe it's active.
Maybe.
We'll
check the facts later, but
we'll zero in on that one. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I like that. Arthur Smith from the old Falcons head coach, is now Pittsburgh's offensive coordinator.
That's right.
I don't know how much I love or hate that. Good for him though. I really don't have any. I mean, the Falcons were shit. So
yeah, I'm not really sure what to think about.
You got to hope they're a little bit better. I mean, Pittsburgh had Matt Canada.
Yeah.
No one liked him from Pittsburgh, so I'm just assuming that they're happy with anything.
He's clearly an upgrade from that. There's no doubt, right?
Yep. Ben Johnson will be staying with the Lions.
Yes.
That, I think, is huge news.
That is.
I did not expect that. But does that go to show how much of what Dan Campbell has built is maybe meaningful, or is it the number was not good enough for Ben, and he said, it's goofy enough here, this will do.
Yeah.
This just in, breaking news. Charles Barkley admits he has a man crush on Lions coach Dan Cooper. Cooper.
Potato.
Yes.
It'll do.
How about that? Crazy, huh?
Man, just because he's Dan Campbell?
Just because he's Dan Campbell, because he loves the going for it thing.
Good Lord.
I don't know. But there you have it. Right off the press.
Good for him.
Hot news. Good for him, right?
Happy for him.
Yeah.
That probably took a lot for him to... Charles Barkley, is that who you said?
Charles Barkley.
Well, I'm glad he said that.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell needs something to wake up happy to after this past weekend.
He does.
And I think that'll really raise his spirits.
He really does. Jared Goff commented about the game and how it felt. He said, quote, "Getting this far is an accomplishment, but losing this game is devastating."
Yeah, I would imagine death threats. I would assume Detroit...
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Detroit might just be happy they made it that far, but a lot of Detroit's probably not happy they lost after having that lead.
Yeah, I think that's the brutal point. It's almost like if you weren't there, it would have been less painful than that. Yeah,
that sucks. We'll get into that game. I had a couple more coaching things to get through.
Sorry, yep.
But that sucks. I mean, you have to be happy that happened because it wasn't going your way for a few years now with Dan Campbell.
Right.
And it finally clicked.
Yep.
And then it fell apart.
Yep.
So it's like, if you're a player, you got to admit that, like, this is amazing that we did this. But as a fan, it's like, you were one game away.
Yeah.
And had a lead.
Very, very brutal.
Very frustrating.
Yep. There's not, the only team I can think of more frustrating than that for that long and having gone 31 years or whatever it was.
Yeah, 31.
The Bills.
Yeah.
4 straight seasons in the Super Bowl, losing it all 4 times.
Then three or four AFC championships. Yeah. Can't get there.
This is kind of in that, not quite there as bad, but it's close.
Yeah, I mean, if they go another couple times and miss it, it's going to be devastating for that city.
Yeah, Lord. That's crazy stuff.
They were pumped up, happy for him.
Yep.
Texans offensive coordinator is staying with the Texans.
Oh, that's good.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Vrabel was the second option for the Chargers if Harbaugh didn't sign there, which was good to hear. They had a backup. I would have been happy with either one of them. Happy it's Jim, but
let's see. Jim Harbaugh happened right after the podcast last week.
Literally an hour.
So let us touch on that briefly.
Yes, that is. I forgot we didn't cover that because
it was right after. Like you said, an hour.
Yeah, as a Chargers fan, super happy about that. They've already hired the GM. Yep. They've brought the DC with Harbaugh. Life is good right now. I will drink all of that Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask your owner to do more to give your team a chance than that.
$16 million a year is what they're paying him.
Is that what it is?
That's what came out.
I had not seen that.
I thought it was going to be more of like $20 a year.
Yeah.
Apparently, Harbaugh declined $20 million a year with the Broncos the year before.
Really?
Then took $16 million with the Chargers.
He wanted that job.
So he wanted that job. I'm assuming Michigan was going to have to suspend him or something for what has happened.
Yeah.
So he definitely needed out, and he was just trying to raise the price.
Yep.
So kudos to the Spanos family. It feels like they're all in finally.
That's a fantastic hire.
Yes.
And then also the GM coming from the Ravens.
Yes, the Ravens personnel guy, coach, scout.
Fabulous.
He's been amazing. Yep. I'm excited for him to be a GM.
Yep.
Especially after the run the Ravens have had the last few years with all the injuries. The new strength coach as well from Michigan to the Chargers.
Oh, really?
Something Herbert. All these guys have the JH initial. It's bizarre, but really? I am, again, drinking all of the Kool-Aid. It is hilarious, and I love it.
Well, it's just a matter of time.
Yes.
You get to this draft, and again, Jim Harbaugh is going to have a leg up on other coaches.
Right.
And a lot of times you find teams, as we start talking about the draft, teams where the personnel and the coaches, scouts and all,
right?
They get into it about players, and it sometimes causes the wrong decisions to be made.
Right,
it's a common issue, and I think this whole element of Jim Harbaugh coming right from college, it's going to really help eliminate that.
I sure hope so.
For up to 2 years, I would say. So they're gonna have some great drafts. There are going to be some Michigan players going to Los Angeles Chargers.
You would have to assume that. At that point, if he already knows them and everything considered, it'd only be more of an advantage. So,
and I would not be surprised to see him make a couple of free agent acquisitions, maybe a trade.
They'll definitely
bring somebody they know.
Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Mike Williams, a few of these other veterans on the team will definitely be looked at for getting cut. That's just how it is. I can safely say whatever Harbaugh does, I will stay behind until they go 3-15.
Yep.
Or 3-14, whatever the records are now.
Well, when I think back to Jimmy Johnson coming to the Cowboys in '89, he had players he played against, players he had on his team at the University of Miami.
Right.
Russell Maryland was a big one. Played defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Irvin, although he was on the University of Miami when Johnson was there,
Yep.
he was already drafted by Tom Landry, so he was already in place. Might have been another part of the reason, because I knew Jimmy loved Michael Irvin.
Gotcha.
So he was already there before Jerry and Jimmy even showed up. So, again, Jim Harbaugh is going to use that knowledge and that background that no one else has to that magnitude to get some real workers in there. And I almost wanted to buy a Charger hat or shirt after I saw that and we texted, because it's like, finally, somebody does the right thing.
It feels like it. Yeah. So I'm very, very happy about that. He played for the Chargers for, I think, 2 or 3 years, maybe as a quarterback. Very, very excited.
Couldn't agree more.
Brandon Staley's getting some interviews as DC for the Packers and Rams, notably, which I think is hilarious. Good luck to those teams. And then we already touched on the Ravens secondary coach is interviewing for the defensive coordinator position for the Titans.
Oh, sweet.
Not really anything crazy, but he was part of the defense, so maybe that's something for the Titans. And that was all I had for the coaches on the carousel.
Openings that remain, the Commanders.
Commanders is a big one.
Who else was still open? There might have been one other one.
Maybe. I know that
Atlanta made a hire. Carolina made a hire.
Patriots.
So Seattle was one of the remaining big ones.
Seattle and Commanders, I think, are basically it.
So Commanders, if Vrabel doesn't go there,
and Belichick goes to broadcasting.
Yeah, which sounds more likely now.
Sounds like it could happen, legitimately. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I don't know if he knows what he wants to do yet, to be honest.
Yeah. So it still continues to spin around the sun and all that, and we'll find out more as probably this coming week.
Yep.
Now that the next round of games is done, we'll probably find out who the Commanders coach is going to be.
See if anybody leaves I guess we'll have a podcast in between, but who leaves the Super Bowl teams as well.
Right.
Whoever loses will be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really have a good inclination to know who would leave at this point, but
I guess the only thing I would say is the Commanders, Magic Johnson is part of the ownership team there.
Right.
So you want a championship, somebody that understands winning.
Yes.
So I could very well see where he might be waiting to pluck somebody from the Chiefs.
Yes.
Could even be the 49ers. I know they had a couple coordinators that might have been showing some interest in them.
I would be interested to see if that defensive coordinator after the Super Bowl for the Chiefs gets plucked.
Yeah. You're talking about
Spagnuolo?
Spagnuolo. Yeah. Yep. And then Steve Wilkes for the Niners has been mentioned some too.
Interesting.
So it could be one of those two guys that the Commanders are waiting on.
Or even Seattle at this point.
Yeah,
and they're just filling up their interview process.
Yeah, true. So there's some talented coaching still out there.
Yes.
And there's, again, the Commanders' job, I think they're building it the right way, which is scary as hell to me as a Cowboys fan. But I think they're going about it the right way.
I think so as well.
Yep.
And that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. But I guess we still got 2 weeks.
We do.
Which is depressing as shit.
It is.
But
here we are.
It is part of the process.
Yep.
And I guess we'll go right into our
sounds good
preview or review.
Yep. Sounds good.
The pre-post review.
Yep.
Of the 2 games this past weekend.
Yep. My picks sucked for both.
Well, no, you said under for Kansas City and Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
And you said over for Detroit and San Francisco.
Oh.
So, however bad you think you did, you didn't do quite as bad.
Well,
because I almost said to take the over in the Kansas City-Baltimore game and the under in the Detroit-San Francisco game, and I bit my tongue. So, good calls.
Oh, all right.
You didn't do too bad.
Thank you.
Hey, well done.
Hey.
Look at us.
Now and again.
Yeah. I guess we'll cap off the Kansas City-Baltimore game first.
Sure. Sounds great.
Final score, 17-10 Kansas City. Kansas City didn't have to score a fucking point in the second half.
It's amazing.
That is wild. They went into Baltimore and, quite frankly, made Baltimore look like idiots.
Yep.
Clowned them.
They did to the Ravens what the Ravens normally do to everybody else. Control the clock and run the ball down your throat.
Why didn't Baltimore decide to ever run the ball?
It's a question mark right there.
It started well right out of the gate.
Yep.
And then they never did it again. And I get you're down. It's not typically the way to get back in the game.
Yep.
But how do you not mix it in for a whole half?
You were at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're at home. Your Ravens fans are crazy. You've got all that going. You could have, I believe, run your way back into that game.
Lamar is not an MVP because he's a pocket passer or can run or can throw the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he can't. He's a fine quarterback.
Yeah.
But why not use your legs and or give it to Gus Edwards or Justice Hill?
Yeah.
I mean, that team has had like 4 different running backs this year alone because they had Keaton Mitchell, I think it was. They had J.K. Dobbins. And they have Gus Edwards and they have Justice Hill, who have all done great this regular season and up till that point, the postseason. Where did the run game go?
Right.
That's how they were going to win it.
Yeah.
And, they had a couple mistakes. Some people might argue the refs, but, it was non-existent. They scored in the first and fourth quarter.
Yep. You watch Lamar Jackson stand in the pocket, run around in a circle, try to throw a ball, rarely run. I don't know how many rushing attempts, but it wasn't many.
No. It wasn't, unusual.
And it was like, why are you trying to make this guy a pocket passer when he's an on-the-move playmaking machine?
I completely
agree. It made
agree.
no sense. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And I don't, for 1 second, understand what the logic was.
I don't either, and I have to try and figure out if that was the Ravens coaching calling those plays or if that was him audibly in it at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Who knows what went wrong? We won't hear that like everything for 5 years down the road, maybe. But that was it was horrid to watch.
And sadly, for Lamar Jackson, now he gets the label, right?
Yes.
The big moments, the big games, he doesn't come through.
And he's getting that one now.
Yep.
And, the defense didn't... The Ravens' defense didn't help, but, they didn't hurt. You should be able to win a game in the postseason if you hold the team to 17 points.
Completely agree.
Once you get up to, 24-31, that's a different story.
Right.
But that wasn't a failed defense.
No. You're holding your opponent to 17 points. You should win the game.
That's Patrick fucking Mahomes.
That's a pretty damn good score. Now, I will say, in the second half, the rain came.
Yes.
That we thought was going to be there probably earlier.
I thought that was going to be a whole game.
Yeah.
That's on me.
And no. And, I thought that the rain would ultimately
help.
Yeah.
And
it didn't.
It didn't hurt. Kansas City didn't score any points.
Yeah, true. You're right.
Which is...
Again,
mind-boggling.
Doesn't even make sense.
Which,
so go to your running game and just plow through them and just wear them out. But
you got to feel bad for Zay Flowers fumbling that touchdown.
Yeah.
That sucks.
He's trying to make a play.
The taunting.
Snead is in his head from the prior couple plays.
Snead's an unbelievable corner safety, whatever he is.
Yep. And he was just trying to stretch out to do it to
get it now.
You guys, right?
I get it completely. I think that's just the rookie.
Yeah.
It sadly just mistakes. When you stand over someone, that's a penalty. You can't give me shit if you wouldn't have pushed the leg and then gotten up and done it, it wouldn't have been a penalty. It probably would have been a penalty. And I'm not talking about anybody who want to say that. It's just it's just silly things that cost them more time, more whatever. It's unfortunate.
It's interesting too that Odell Beckham is not the old Odell Beckham.
No.
But in that game, for whatever reason, Lamar Jackson was really trying to feed him the ball. And maybe it was after the fumble or maybe it was after a couple of those things. But Odell wasn't really able to get open, and it kept being knocked away. I think that happened 3 or 4 times.
And I think they leaned on him because he's a veteran. He kind of understands in the playoffs what might go wrong, what a wide receiver should look for if the pocket collapses, come back to the ball.
Yep.
Some things you didn't see out of Zay Flowers are likely, and Andrews was probably on limited snaps. I don't know that for sure. But you didn't see much of him. I think he had a couple at the end, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So, I understand why he leaned towards OBJ in that game. It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 20/20, but
likely only had a couple catches or even targets, I think.
Nothing crazy.
But it just didn't seem like they ever got anything going.
They were pressuring him. They weren't running it, so they knew what to do against it. It was a shame to watch.
I swear, when I think of that game and I think of the Ravens, all I think of is this with Lamar. Moving around in the pocket, trying to throw something, and then incomplete.
That's what it felt like for a majority of the game.
Yeah,
and also, the Ravens were the only team not to get a fucking rushing touchdown and ruined the special.
Oh, Lord.
Out of all the teams.
Of all the teams, they should have had 2,
you would have thought. And he almost did I think early on, maybe, on one of those downs, but
good grief.
Whatever. It is what it is. Ravens are the Ravens now.
Yeah.
Kansas City advances. Kudos to them.
Yep.
I can't say I'm surprised. I called it a few weeks back.
You did.
Yep. It is what it is. On to the absolute tragedy of a game that was Detroit at San Francisco. 31-34 San Francisco.
Where do you start? Again, epic collapse. And
epic collapse.
We have to just talk about, Dan Campbell's way.
Yeah.
Getting the team there, I get it. But, again, when you get to that game, you're up by 17 points.
Yep.
Your most important thing is to just keep the distance. Keep putting distance.
You don't even have to go for big plays anymore.
No. And I just kind of felt like kick the field goals. You know, I know that's not your MO, but this game is not about making it. You've made it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to me it was just like disappointing, the decision making there. And for the fans of Detroit, you know, for 31 years, whatever it's been, you know, my goodness, you know, it's brutal. This is a brutal way to lose a game. Almost like you'd rather not be there on some level because, you know, you had it. The game was right there, and you really had it, and it just got snatched from you.
It, you know, I like he said, like my dad said, I understand that how you got there, not going for it on the fourth down, not kicking the field goal.
Yeah,
it makes sense. I get it. You know, it's worked or it's what you've done. It's cool. But how do you not just kick that field goal as the smart thing to do?
Yeah.
And again, hindsight's 2020. We're just two idiots with microphones. But I just don't understand the difference between sticking to what you've done and deciding to play the ball smart and kick that field goal. Yeah. Now, that says a lot about what he thinks about Badgley, maybe. I don't know. Did Badgley say at one point, I'm not feeling 100% today? And there's an unreported sickness that he had, so he said, fuck that, we're just going to go for it. And there's a completely unrelated reason he did this.
I don't think that was the case because they showed him walking around like he was ready to go on the field.
That's true. He did have the helmet mark. It looked like he was practicing.
And it almost kind of looked like he was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because it looked like he was ready to go, and then it wasn't, and then he was kind of like,
I agree.
I don't know.
But I'm just trying to come up with anything.
There could be. There certainly could be.
I'll never know. But that was crazy. I can't believe it was 24/7 at one point. CJ DJ is waving goodbye to the San Francisco fans, and then they get smoked.
Yeah. It just sucks.
That is terrible.
Yeah. And okay, 49ers on the other hand, they took it.
They did.
They took it from them. I mean, they could have, fallen into that trap and succumbed to that and said, hey, it's over with.
Right, we gave it our best shot.
But they are fighters, man. And I'll tell you what, for as much as Lamar Jackson didn't run in that game, Brock Purdy, when they had to have it in that second half on key downs, that dude just
took off.
Oh, my gosh. He's a winner.
Well, did that tackling from the Lions not just piss the hell out of you?
Oh, my gosh.
It felt like every tackle took three more people than it should have.
And it wasn't that way in the first half. But the tackling, we talked about it at lunch. The tip balls.
Yeah.
The Lions defender tipping the ball that Ayuk caught and ran in the end zone. What are we doing there? The drop balls by who were you saying on offense for the Lions?
Reynolds.
Yeah, Reynolds, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was almost like they just. It was like
nothing was clicking.
It was a spaz out, man.
It really was. It was tough to watch.
Oh, it was so brutal.
And it almost felt like as soon as the 49ers scored that first touchdown, it was like, oh no, it's happening.
I've never seen a game 24/7 and feel like so not 24/7 ever.
Yeah.
There was just a weirdness about it.
I completely agree. And, I mean, Detroit showed up. They had fans in the stadium. There was a lot of them.
They did.
And, they packed their stadium out in Detroit and had the games on.
Yep, you're right.
But, oh, my Lord, that was painful.
So I got to imagine Ben Johnson. I mean, you have a game like that, you got something to prove, right?
Right. There's probably
unfinished business there, I would think.
You might feel like you need to give it another year maybe, then you explore it.
I really kind of felt like, we were at the Dallas-Detroit game, and I really felt like when they lost that game for how resilient they were at the end,
yes,
that was going to be like the impetus. That was a tough game. The Lions were the better team, I thought.
Right.
I really thought that Dallas got lucky a couple times. I mean, the deep pass from Dak to CeeDee Lamb, how the Lions rusher missed him. Yeah. If you go back and watch that,
a lot closer than it looked.
If you've ever had any question about is there some weird things going on in the NFL, that one's unexplainable.
I completely agree.
But I really felt like that game was the impetus for them to get through a game like the 49ers.
Yep.
And I don't know what happened there, but I thought they were kind of a comeback, the ability to come back like they did, but in that one they kind of went the other way.
They did, and that was
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to say. I mean, the slander about Purdy not being a good quarterback, that should be put to rest immediately. It's easy to see how when a team is stacked around an offense that has that many weapons, you feel like anybody could go into that scheme and just torch them. Yeah. And there's probably some truth to that. They probably wouldn't fail as hard as like a first-year second string would if he just went in.
Right.
But, I mean, that man did it. He's done it multiple times now. I used to be a doubter in the first few weeks of this season.
Yep.
I am not anymore. That is for sure.
He had really one bad throw that he kind of threw into the linebacker.
Yeah, there's a wobble maybe, or was that Jared Goff? I can't. Never mind. I can't remember who that was.
If you watch that guy play, you said it. He makes it look so smooth and effortless.
Yes.
And whether he takes off running or he throws that ball on the move, he hasn't won anything yet.
Right.
Really, honestly, a championship win is huge though to get him the next level.
Yeah.
He does have those similarities to Joe Montana. I remember watching Joe Montana, against the Cowboys many times, and that same, nothing special,
right?
But just that calm, cool, and has that ability. I forget how you describe Purdy, something like that.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
But that was exactly what Joe Montana played like, and it looked like it was nothing, and then all of a sudden you were getting killed.
I completely agree, and it was something else.
They found one in him for sure.
Yeah, and they got what a crazy. I mean, the part of that game that was awesome was Jared Goff was first overall. Purdy was the last pick in the draft, so that was kind of a cool stat line to see.
That really was.
But oh my god,
yeah,
what a crazy game that was.
Whew.
I don't know. Detroit keeping a couple coordinators would be huge.
Yeah.
I think they'll be fine next year.
I think so.
Ravens, if they can stay healthy, they'll be fine next year.
Think so too, and I think John Harbaugh is going to be even more motivated with his brother in the league now.
Yes, I think, and they play next year against each other.
Yeah.
So, John will have to prove it. I think he really wanted to prove it this year.
I think he did too. And brother was in the audience.
Right.
Yeah, watching it.
That stung. That really stung for him, I bet. And who knows if J.K. Dobbins and some of these other guys would have stayed healthy, but the free agency will be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And everybody in terms of Detroit, for getting to the championship game, everybody said they're a year away.
Right.
Okay. So if you went to the championship game and you're a year away,
next year
you're in a pretty good place, right?
I completely agree.
And everybody has been saying that. The fact they made it that far, I think, surprised a lot of people.
Yes, and Dan Campbell will not change, and that's for the best, I think.
I think
the fourth down thing, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that. But how many times has that really ever happened? The way it has. I mean, that game was wild.
Exactly.
I remember I texted Matt the Chargers score when he was all sad about it, and I was like, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
And, I'm sure they won't forget that for next year.
No. That was going to stick on their side for a while.
Yeah, but now we've got the rematch. Kansas City versus San Francisco happened, 2020?
Yeah.
So
2020, yes, yeah.
super fun.
Yeah. So we'll get to preview that one, right?
Yeah, we will.
And but I would certainly, personally, I cannot root for the 49ers, so
I will be rooting for the Chiefs. I mean, AFC team, Chargers had to play them twice.
Yep.
I dislike and despise Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, but they've fucked me the rest of the way of this playoff, so I might as well just stick with them.
Mahomes is early in his career. He's on his way. And the comparisons to Tom Brady, right, started.
Yeah.
But my goodness, you look at the stats of Tom Brady just as a reminder of how great and why he is the GOAT. I think it's like 35, 36 postseason wins. And with this one, I think Mahomes is like at 16. That's crazy.
They keep saying that if Mahomes keeps this pace, which would be incredible, that he's done it this far, he's on pace to beat Tom Brady in that discussion. And if he wins this Super Bowl, that'll be even crazier.
Yeah.
Which, I obviously everyone's talking about, is this a new dynasty? The Kansas City Chiefs, similar to the Patriots.
Yeah.
And, if Travis Kelce stays another year, if Andy Reid doesn't retire, there's always those talks with the coaches.
Yeah.
I think there's a real shot. I mean, they've done what the Patriots were doing, which was just kind of hanging out until postseason starts and then torching everyone. And torching, I use loosely, I just mean winning.
Yeah,
They're winning. That's all that matters.
And it's interesting, too. It kind of points out, sometimes you can give up on a coach too soon.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when a coach gets rehired, hired somewhere else, people are like, why would you hire him? He didn't do anything, right? Here's a good example. Most Super Bowl appearances by head coaches in NFL history. Mm-hmm. Bill Belichick is number 1 at 9. Don Shula for the Miami Dolphins is 2 at 6. And Andy Reid now with this Super Bowl is tied with Tom Landry for 5.
Oh, my God.
But when you really think about it, Andy Reid didn't have a lot of success at Philly.
No,
then he goes to Kansas City and blows the top off.
Yep.
Because he gets Mahomes.
Yep.
And it's just like Belichick, right?
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. I mean, he's got Tom Brady. Don Shula had great talent there. Dan Marino for at least one of those, and a bunch of other talent around it, just like Tom Landry did. But
it's crazy to think about.
But that's amazing. Everybody was done with him. Mm-hmm. So he's the guy on the list that, started with one team, really didn't have a lot of success. I think he won one or went 1-1.
Maybe, I can't
or
remember.
Or even 0-1.
Yeah, because Doug Peterson was the Nick Foles.
Yeah. So I think Andy Reid was 0-1 with Philly.
Yeah.
And then went 4 times with Kansas City.
Yeah.
And he's won multiple times now. So
2 or 3?
Yeah. So this could be 4, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up. But
they lost to Tampa Bay. They beat San Francisco last time.
That's right. And then they beat Philly. Yeah.
So maybe it's 3.
Maybe it's 3 and they won 2.
This will be the 4th one and they've only won 2.
Okay.
I think so.
I think you're right. Yep.
Maybe. I don't know.
That sounds right. We'll get into more of our Super Bowl preview and background and all that stuff.
I'll throw the info up with how many they won versus what they won. You can yell at us in the comments. But
pretty well.
If you send me that graphic too, I'll put it in the podcast for when I'm editing this. But should be crazy. I don't know what else you've got, but I've got some lines I want to preview and maybe talk about just a wee bit.
Let's hear it.
So one of the lines out of the bat that I like a lot is Noah Gray's receptions. He is the tight end 2 for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
His over-under right now is 1.5. I really think he's going to hit that over easily. I don't know why, but I have a hunch San Francisco will cover Kelsey like he's a wide receiver 1 or 2, and it'll be harder to get him targets.
Yeah.
So over the course of an entire game, I could easily see Noah Gray getting his 2 receptions. I think I don't have the stats on it right now because this is just a preview and what I like early. We can talk more about this down the road.
Sure.
But I think honestly he's hit that in a few games now. I don't know. Well, actually, I'm not gonna fucking say that. I just like it.
Yeah.
I think Kelsey's gonna be covered. They'll throw Noah Gray the ball. 2 receptions over the course of 4 quarters is pretty easy to get, especially when you're Mahomes, and it feels like he's been spreading the ball out.
Yeah.
Just my initial read.
I can see that.
I don't know if this is what I'm going to go with, but it's early still, so I'm just telling you guys now in case that line actually goes to 2.5.
Yeah.
Because if it goes 2.5 and you could have gotten it at 1.5, much different conversation. Pacheco's rushing yards over, I like a lot. His rushing yards started out, I think, at 65.5, and that line's already moved to 68.5.
Wow.
Which is a bit of movement for just rushing yards in a game.
Yeah.
I think Pacheco, if Kansas City goes up on the 49ers at any point, you'll notice more rushing, which they very well could. They might not.
Yeah.
But I think regardless, San Francisco's been better at covering the pass than they have the rush. They have some big bodies up front, but I don't know how good they are against the run. I think they're much better at passing defense.
I think so too.
They'll get to the quarterback, but as soon as you hand it off to the run game, he's gone. And Pacheco's had a hell of a season.
He has.
So I really think Pacheco could get 75, 80 yards in this game. And a lot of that rides on if Kansas City goes up towards the end of the game or not.
Yeah. And the other thing too is even if they're battling from behind, they're going to mix in some draws and runs to keep the heat off.
Kansas City, aside from Kelsey, really doesn't have that wide receiver that they used to sometimes have, where it'd be like he's only going to get the ball.
Yeah.
So I like his over. It's at 68.5, like I said right now. I still like that. If it goes closer to 70, I'd probably lay off it. But there's a lot of time between now and the Super Bowl. As people start hammering the lines, they'll start moving, and we'll see if that one goes up at all in the meantime.
Yeah.
Rashee Rice, his receptions right now are at 6.5. I personally think that's too high. For him to get 7 receptions, I think is a bit of a stretch. I don't think it's, he's done it in the last 2 games, which is weird why I would say take his under here. But I think San Francisco, again, is going to be covering well.
Yeah.
The Chiefs will probably lean to go to Pacheco a little bit more. And I don't know. There's just something about it I don't like. I'll have a more in-depth stat breakdown for next week because I'll actually done some research at this point. But I think his 6.5 is too high. I think if you get it 5.5, go with the over, but 6.5 feels like go with the under. Just initially for me.
Okay.
Just how I feel. Then there was a special I like a lot that I'm just saying now for having it on video for later. But Chris Jones and Nick Bosa to both record half a sack each, plus 200, 10 to win 30. I really like that because Bosa, I think that's who I said, right? Chris Jones?
Yeah, you did.
Bosa.
Yep.
Bosa has been, he was scrutinized the first game. Was that the first game the 49ers played? Why am I brain farting right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bye. Yeah, okay. I know they were saying a lot about Nick Bosa.
And they played the Packers.
That's
yeah,
right.
Sorry. Yep.
I was like, wait, what am I saying? Maybe Bosa didn't have much production against the Packers or something, but people were saying that he was due to have a couple against the Lions, which he did. And I think that'll keep up against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Again, this is all just my feelings, so take that with a grain of salt. And also, Chris Jones is a beast. I mean, they just need to get the assist with the sack. That's why I like it. They don't have to get the solo sack.
Yeah.
So I really like that. It feels like those are two absolute demons that usually show up in games in crucial moments.
Yeah. So they're saying a half a sack each?
Yeah.
Okay.
So both of them need to record half a sack, and then
or better, right?
Yeah, and then wins.
Right.
So
okay.
That feels like a pretty easy one to hit, and I saw it was plus 200. Felt a little high, but nothing too bad.
Yeah.
Fine. The line right now is set at 1.5, pretty much a pick 'em. Over under 47.5.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to lean with the under at the moment, at 47.5, but we'll see if it moves. I don't really have much of a hardcore feeling at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at Super Bowl history. A lot of Super Bowls in the past have gone way over 50 points. Doesn't feel like this will be one of those, but the 49ers could easily turn it into one of those, which scares me. I don't know. I'm kind of split on the whole thing.
I think both defenses are pretty good.
That's where I'm at. I'm like, I think the Chiefs' defense is better than the Lions.
I think so too. And the Eagles in the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, they gave up a lot of points.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling this one's going to be a little bit more of a sparring, and not so much scoring.
It feels like it.
Yeah, it'll be close, but I could kind of see this one being more like a 24-20 kind of thing.
I completely
don't know why
agree.
it feels that way.
Nope. I'm right there with you.
24-21 maybe, but it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if Tooney is supposed to be back or not.
I don't know either.
But they did do a good job without him. I thought that was going to be more of a problem than it was.
Well, you saw him on Instagram Live losing his shit about saying that his injury wasn't real. And then Andy Reid came out after the game was like, it's real. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird.
He might get himself benched for the Super Bowl at this rate.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
And then on the other side, you have, I guess that was the defensive lineman for the Chiefs too.
Yeah.
Who's out for the season now.
Ooh.
And he had I think it was a sack fumble.
Oh, dear.
In the last game. So that's kind of interesting to see how they overcome that one for getting pressure on Purdy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
So we'll certainly be putting more next week, have more on the preview for that matchup.
The preview will be much more extensive, and
Yeah.
I will have many, many more picks for that as we get a little bit closer. But this is the down week. We've got the Pro Bowl this weekend, which no one gives a shit about. Dodgeball will be a blast to watch. But it's better than what they were doing. I mean, no one cared in the game up until a few years ago at all. So
remember, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge anything. So keep that in mind.
I might tune that on in the background as something just to have something on the TV. But I mean, God, that is
not exactly breathtaking TV, is it?
I almost want them to be playing a game for like $10 million. Then I might watch, but I don't care who races Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, put on anything else. Let's let them play a game of Call of Duty against each other or something. I don't know.
That was a handful of years ago that we were down in Disney and went to the Pro Bowl.
Oh.
And actually attended it, and which was really cool because a lot of Cowboys were there that year.
Right.
Jason Garrett was the head coach for the NFC. And then out to dinner, kind of like a, what am I trying to say, Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
But ran into DeMarco Murray, the running back for the Cowboys, at the bar. So that was kind of a neat
that's
thing.
hilarious.
Yeah, so kind of thinking about that when you just said Orlando. I hadn't thought about that in a while, and it's kind of a fun. It is a fun spectator thing and atmosphere because nobody really cares. So it's really low pressure and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think they could do more to make it more fun for the players, but who am I to say? Maybe they love it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But aside from that, I don't think I have really anything else.
No, I think that's it for this week.
Yeah, we got a short week. We're trying a few different things with the podcast. So, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Yes, please.
Give us your opinions. We're trying new things and, whatnot. You've probably seen some of my shorts at this point. We're going to keep pumping those out. Those have been doing pretty well. Appreciate all the help from you guys on that.
Thank you.
And aside from that, have a great weekend. I don't think I've got anything else.
Nothing else. Koi Pond, out.
Koi Pond, out. See you guys later.